So I'm really curious why they're making these. I think it's very interesting what negotiations are happening behind the scenes with African countries to make these deportations happen, because the United States obviously is competing like Belt and Road in Africa and is trying to have relationships with some of these countries in ways that compete with China or provide leverage over China. So there could be all kinds of interesting stuff happening behind the scenes as to why they're making decisions for random country deportations, basically.
And it seems like this fits into the Stephen Miller, I want spectacle type of action, like to send somebody into a completely war-torn area.
Yeah. Yep.
Where who God only knows what type of conditions they're going to face. Feels in line with his policy of like let's make this as vicious as possible in order to discourage any migration. So Chris Van Hollen and Marco Rubio got into it over immigration speech and basically the entire kind of Trump first 100+ days in the Senate yesterday. It went for quite some time. It seemed personal. Van Hollen used his entire 7 minutes basically to go after Rubio, and then Rubio insisted on having time to challenge him to come back. Let's roll a little bit of it.
I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may say.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job, based on what I know.
Well, that's
about
just
your
a
record
flippant
and what you
statement,
stand
Mr.
for.
Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
I didn't ask
Senator,
questions.
please let the Secretary have
I'd be
the floor.
happy to, but then I can respond to his
Your
response.
time's up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add.
Well-
your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr. Chairman-
Secretary, please.
Well, I'd like to. I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation.
I raised
don't regret
Sudan, Mr.
psychosocial
Secretary.
support services.
I raised
USAID.
Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I
not
respond, Mr.
Mozambique.
Chairman, or do I?
Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes of
I chose to
railing on-
use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use my
suspend,
time that way.
Senator. Secretary Rubio.
Well, I can go on. I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. So I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come,
Mr.
you're going to see
Chairman,
who you went to
look,
defend.
I'm sorry,
Please,
Mr. Chairman.
Secretary
No.
Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated comments
Senator,
like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You had
Secretary
your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court in the
Senator,
United States because
well,
he hasn't done it under oath.
Yeah, that's something else to me from Rubio, because he has been one of the Senate's most vocal defenders of USAID for his entire political career. And now he's kind of he's distancing himself from all of that support by finding a few kind of ridiculous woke things that he can point to, when he has supported it as an apparatus of U.S. foreign policy, for many years. To say that you had a margarita, when the Bukele dropped a margarita on the table between Van Hollen and Abreu Garcia when Van Hollen was in El Salvador, and then quick snapped a picture. Get serious here, man.
I like how he pivots from Chomsky to Stephen Miller in half a second.
Yeah.
He's going through all of this ridiculous soft power USAID bullshit, and then is so yes, we did deport people to El Salvador. It's 0 to 60.
Yeah, and he's and the evidence will show. It's well, from Van Hollen's perspective, it's okay, how about when the evidence does show that, you present it in somewhere where we can adjudicate it. You don't tell us that in the future we're going to present this evidence.
Taibbi had a really good post about the Ozturk situation and how
he brought up Ozturk a couple times. He's because Rubio's look, you come here, you burn down buildings, which didn't happen. You say somebody did break a window, and you disrupt classes, then we're going to kick you out. And he's did Rumeysa Aztar do that? All she did was co-author an op-ed.
And that's, Rubio did not answer that question. And so, yeah, this is your point about Rubio is an interesting one, a really interesting one, actually. And I'm with that. Like, I'm applauding all of that except for the El Salvador Ozturk insanity. And Taibbi had a good post, actually, where he's taken some heat for saying at one point that, well, the Secretary of State is claiming there's going to be evidence that these people harmed national security in some significant way to warrant the revocation of their visas, because he has the power to do it if, legally, if they are if they're a threat to American foreign policy. That's the law that allows them to revoke the visa. And so Taibbi is saying that's such a significant claim. There must be, at one point he said something like, he was like, maybe there isn't more evidence, but maybe there is. And so he was like, it doesn't, there's some reason to say, like, maybe there's something else going on here. And it's never materialized. And so Taibbi wrote a really, I think it was like, I forget the title of it, it was fantastic and everyone should go read it, but just being like, screw this. Over and over again, you can look at these examples with the visa revocations, where it seems like they're alluding, and Rubio in particular seems like they're alluding to something, and it never materializes. So that, I mean, he doubles, triples down in that exchange with Van Hollen and says, we're going to keep doing it, which from a communications perspective is exactly the right thing to do. I mean, to not shy away from it and to not look like you're wishy-washy. So just from like a messaging standpoint, cynically, it's exactly the right thing to do. But
was it the case of Rumeysa Aztar? Is that his piece? Timeline?
No,
or
the timeline is
Marco
good
Rubio
too.
has some explaining to do.
It might be that. Here, I'll find it. But anyway, the State Department, I don't know if you get this sense either. I think it's called Ode to Scum. But I don't know if you get this impression either, but it does seem to me like the State Department actually has slowed down on the visa revocations. The visa revocations, and they haven't done another like deportation to El Salvador. They're doing the South Sudan, but how many was that?
12.
Yeah, and what was the attempt for Libya was I think around like 50. They're doing these smaller number attempts, and first of all, they have a significant number of people with actual criminal backgrounds. They said they were going to start with the worst of the worst. Even that. Their problem, this is why they're turning to Africa, again, to be cynical, is that they have all of these people with criminal backgrounds. Even if it's nothing compared to what the 8 million people that they claim to want to deport, they have tens of thousands of people that they need to deport. If they say they want to deport people, the worst with criminal backgrounds, who's going to take a bunch of criminals that are being deported from the United States?
Well, this shows why it would be helpful if the United States was not such a bully that had such terrible relations with so many countries around the world. For instance, one of the people that apparently was sent to South Sudan is Bolivian, for instance. Why does the United States have such a bad relationship with Bolivia? Well, we were involved with a coup in 2019 and then an attempted coup in 2020. Because Elon Musk responded by saying, we will coup whoever we want in the context of all of the lithium reserves that Bolivia has. And so, so Bolivia's like, no, we're not going to take these people back. So a choice for us would be to not be thugs around the world. And then if they have a criminal who has committed, crimes in the United States and is also here illegally, then that person would then be deported back to Bolivia. And Bolivia has no choice but to take them unless they have a blanket policy that they don't have a relationship with us when it comes to that, because we're thugs who are trying to overthrow their government, which is, okay, they make a fair point.
Yeah.
Now, while you're looking for that, Kristi Noem, DHS secretary, was also on the Hill yesterday, and I played this clip.
Speaking of their ability to do mass deportations, because that's why Stephen Miller is floating this idea. And by the way, it was also predicated on the notion legally, it must be predicated on the notion legally that there is an invasion happening. The government, the Trump administration says that they have stopped the invasion, and the border crossings have slowed to less than a trickle. So two things can't be true at the same time.
Right, so Stephen Miller has said that if judges keep ruling against them, that they're considering suspending habeas corpus. So Maggie Hassan, New Hampshire senator, live free or die state, asked Kristi Noem a rather